second. Okay, what's up, y'all? Let's see if we can get this on. There we go. Okay, so let's get into this. A lot of people keep saying stuff in chat. I don't think people have any. I mean, it is what it is. Let's look at it from our perspective. When we talk about ranges, really anything can happen in between the ranges. This isn't. Don't think about this too much. This might be the correct adjusted one, but it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, the main point is we never came down and touched here. So really anything technically can happen in between these ranges. But more specifically with what we're looking at, let's go here and we'll talk about the week time frame. We talked about this again and again and again. So this is where we're getting in. This is the longest data that we have for this largest time frame. There's nothing on the month, right? There's no 200 months or 300, 500, 375. So that's what we're looking at here. So this is the buy point. No one really cares what happens here. I talked about this in the last video. We easily could, and what I think is going to happen, what I wanted to see happen didn't. So I'm not surprised we came back because of another reason also. Um, but I would not be surprised if we just end up coming back down. And if we look at this area right here, essentially what we are looking at is the day time frames coming in. I don't want to take too much time looking over this. Let's do this. 2020, right? So the day time frames come into play here, right? We do get a little bit of a yoinker out here, which is a little unfortunate, but boom, keep ranging, we break up again, and then we finally push up, right? So we can just see that back there. We can see that here, right? Boom, 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 boom. Looks a little bit sketchy from the day time frame, but from the week time frame, right? You see your entry point. You're looking for it. Depending if you're really like longing on something like this, you're essentially just getting out when it comes under this. But for me personally, I never trade that way, right? If it's on top, if it comes back into the range, I just get out. I don't really. It's not worth, for my opinion, expecting it to get back out of the range. Not that it can. It's just safer, like, right? Even if we look here, let's say we got in and we got out like right here, it's like 1% plus exchange fee compared to 7% plus exchange fee. So just looking through this, we can all see this kind of stuff. Overbought here, it is fine for what it is. We could see some other things why I would have gotten bought here. I don't really care too much specifically. I wasn't a huge fan of this. I do understand why I called the dollar at the beginning of the year, saying it was sketchy and things would probably move up from there. This much, a little less unexpected, but not so surprising when we think about the VIX failing in, I think, April or May, something like that. I think it was April, the week of April 17th or the 24th, one of those 2 weeks, if I remember correctly. So this is overbought. That's great. I started taking my positions here because I don't care if this is overbought, because now it's fine to be overbought, in my opinion, as long as you get caught into something else, right? There has to be some sort of support high up that you can get bought into, and bought into doesn't mean pushing up here and then coming back down. We can just look at Mara also for a second, just for that. This is why I don't like Mara. I haven't touched it. These people trading it are idiots. I don't care. Maybe I could have gotten it at 2150. I just don't trust this stuff, and I don't like what Bitcoin's doing. Not that I don't like Bitcoin. It's just in the short term, it's just really, really, it's the dumbest stuff ever. So we'll see in a second. Anyway, so let's just take a look at Bitcoin in a second. Let's look at the dollar. Let's look at Bitcoin, then we'll look at the dollar. And then we can look at the VIX real quick and just end this. We don't really need to look at this for too long. So really, what are we looking for? We talked about this before. Let me adjust some of these. I did it on my phone. It's always a lot harder. So adjust some of these. The week time frame should still be around here. We'll adjust the week up. So what we can see is day. This is the week. This is the week. So the thing to note here is, what do we want to see? We do not want to see it get caught back in here. I think it's more likely that we'll fall under and then push down. It's yet to be seen. That's really far away. So it's not really that important to mention, more than that's just a standard whole thing, right? Price action around the whole averages. So anyway, nice point in. The nice thing to see here, though, is the day time frames are coming up, and these day time frames will hit before. So this will be pretty nice to provide us support to push back up if we push down. So it's only going to be really a couple days. We can do this, do something like this, right? So we're looking at about Saturday the 6th. So this Saturday, we're looking at the day time frame, at least at 375 coming above this. So I'm not worried about this getting sold down. I think this looks pretty good. I expect it to get bought somewhere around here, and this would be the next best place to really buy a lot, in my opinion, unless something really bad happens. We'll look at the indices and show why I'm not surprised that we're coming down whatsoever right now. There's a lot of weakness, a lot of overbuying. A lot of this was really here. let me just show this first, and we'll show the Dow. And then let's get out of this, and we'll do a couple other things, but we'll show the dollar. So, because a lot of this stuff isn't like crazy. It's just once you see it, you see it, and there's no real need to go over it so much. That's why I haven't been streaming much recently. Some of the stuff is just so stupid, and it's like such a waste of time. For me, the easiest way to make money off this is just not trade. Do not lose money. If I lose $100, if I did something and I was going to lose $100, I see that as making $100 if I didn't do the trade. Because if I lost it, now I have to make $100 just to get back where I was. So we can see here. We get bought. We're overbought on the 4. No confirmation, right? We did not come down, right? We didn't come down right here to touch. We get caught up in the 4 hours, which is great and all. But once we collapse through the 4 hour, it's a little bit sketchy. I don't think this was a sell, or not here. We can't see it from here. I don't think this was a sell. Yeah, I really don't think this necessarily was a sell on its own. I cut myself somehow. I don't think this is necessarily a sell on its own. If someone wanted to grab it here, I actually think this is perfectly fine if someone wanted to do something like that. It's really high up. And like I said before, it begets the question, if you really are buying with anything significant, why didn't you just buy here or up here? And if you really do believe in Bitcoin, then why not just buy Mara, which is going to go up multiples more than Bitcoin if Bitcoin pushes up? So there is kind of that question. But really we're looking at the 12 hour because that's the biggest one here. And then we see that we just start right back in it. Right. And then we look at that 7 o'clock, we start right back in it. Boom. Right. It makes sense. It makes sense. Right. This is pretty nice. We get in on this one. We get some ugly stuff. We get out right here. Right. Don't care about that. I mean, you can get in right here. I just don't. For me, I didn't care about it specifically. This is when I made that video saying I don't like this. Like to see us go down. I wanted to see us come here with an extra sell all the way down to here. I was thinking we could maybe touch 39.5 is what I was saying, just because of the same concept of being in a bad position and targets low and then like just hitting stop losses and then coming back up. That's what we wanted to see. We didn't do what we wanted to see. We aren't respecting the trend that's like pretty obviously here. It's not impossible to see. Everyone should be seeing it. So that's what this is in a sense, in my opinion. So what I want to see with this, what makes sense every single time is why are we going to stop here? Then like, it's not bearish to want to be down here. It's bearish to want to be here and stay here, but it's not bearish to be here and stay here. We come down, shoot up. We come down, shoot up. We don't come down, and it's like it has a shoot up that just comes down, right? So it's pretty clear to see what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, what looks good and what doesn't look good. It's like that saying, the market can stay stupid or whatever or irrational longer than you can stay solvent. So don't fight it. I lost a little bit on Mara the other week. It just is what it is. These people are idiots. They don't know how to trade. They don't know what's going on. And I'm perfectly fine with that. Right? Just don't do a trade with money that you're afraid of losing. Right? I stacked up here, and I stacked up here, and I stacked up here, and it's unfortunate it took so long for it to come back down to my target. So, but I mean, that's what happens when you get puts would have been sketchy too, but that's what happens when you get 1 week out of the money calls, are puts. So we see that, and the reason why, let's kind of get back to it. The reason why I think the day time frame and the week time frame we're going to crash here, and not crash, we're going to drop a little bit more, maybe another 10%. I don't think it's 10%, maybe like another 9%, maybe somewhere around there. Long story short, somewhere around like 9% is the average is here, but also let's take a look at the NASDAQ. Let's talk about the entry points. So entry points, boom, right? I got an Amara here. We saw the entry. We saw the nice thing with the NASDAQ here. Maybe I did start messing. I don't remember when I started messing with Mara specifically. I think it was the 20th. I'm pretty sure, because on the 20th, right, then we get our first start above. I don't believe I would have done it here. It was like around 1060. I don't remember what day it was. Don't really care. Anyway, so we see that for the NASDAQ, right? So we have November 20th for the buy point for the NASDAQ. We're not sure yet because, right, November 13th, the buy point for the NASDAQ, we have space for the Dow. So it's not surprising the Dow is moving up. But we don't know if it's going to get above this level, right? And then on the 4th of December, we see the buy point from the Dow, right? And we don't see the SPY until the week after, right? So we're not surprised if the SPY pushes up through this, but we don't know yet. And especially if we look at this spot right here, and then we go back over to the Dow Jones just to take a look, we can also see the inverse, where the SPY looked good. So we're not surprised, right? SPY looked good here. This is that starting week. You know this, right? This is that starting week. We pushed up. So we're not surprised, but we don't know if we're going to pass through, right? So the ultimate thing that we're waiting for is for this to pass through. So just likewise or whatever, where we are now, we don't necessarily know this is going to push through. If the SPY stayed here and did this, if what the Dow did here, the SPY did here, I wouldn't be surprised if everything kind of turned back around. I wouldn't. But the point here is we see the buy points on all this stuff. We saw it on the NASDAQ on November 13th. We saw it on the Dow for December 4th. And then December 11th, we can see the SPY buy. The point here is this is the place you enter on all of these. Those are the respective places. So November 13th, December 4th, and December 11th. The point being is it's fine to come all the way back here. It's a little bit sketchy for the SPY, but it's fine, in my opinion, for the SPY to come all the way back here. What we don't want to see is it to come under. But if we just look at this, even if we just take like the top from here, we just take this or any of this, it's a well-guarded area. It looks really good. Because we could even just extend these over looking at the same thing. So we still have the same top plays, right? And even here, really well guarded area, in my opinion. You can call it a double top or whatever, maybe. I don't really care. It's not over. Everything's double top until it's not. So I don't want to say that. Point is, the SPY can come down another 2.5% and still be fine. The Dow can come down another 3.71% and still be fine. The NASDAQ can come down quite a bit and still be fine, though it will most likely look a lot worse if the others two comes under. But the NASDAQ can still come down 5.31% to like 6% and still be fine. So all of this is actually from a bullish perspective of someone that actually got in at the correct time. This is what you would rather see than it just go up, in my opinion anyway, because the more and more and more and more that these idiots buy at the top, or like not buy at the top, but buy in overbought conditions, the worse and worse and worse and worse that the more likely it is for a really hard pullback. Now, hard pullbacks are good as long as support holds, but you don't want too much up here that you just have a bunch of idiots. Now, I'm not worried, like I said before, because this is like almost 6% down. The SPY is 3.71% down. The Dow is, or the SPY is it's like 2.5% down. And then the Dow Jones is like 3.71% down. So we have room to push down and just get bought right the heck back up. So all this is, in my opinion, is still, it's not a concern. I don't think any of this is a concern. I do think the longer we take to, we'll see what happens. I don't want to say that, the indices are going to push down or not. I don't know what's going to happen between ranges a lot of the time. Like we can look at the NASDAQ and like look at something. I can't remember if it was this one or the Skilling one. I might be thinking of something else for a second, but we can see here extra bearishness. We get pushed in, right? We can see that we're trying to get bought back here. I don't want to go into this stuff like too much. I don't really care all that much. I mean, we could look at the 2-hour on Skilling and see. So this is where I would get out. You could try to get back in here. I think this is pretty reasonable because we sold, right? But look at this, and then we finally come in. Boom, right? So we go to the 2. Where's the next one on the 4-hour? Well, it looks like we started under on the 4-hour also, right? We have this average here, this line, which is nice. But regardless, then we go to something like a day time frame. Well, where's the day time frame? Oh, the day time frame's right here. That's where we're getting bought up right now, right? So I'm not saying it's all straightforward. It's all like that. But in a sense, you can kind of see some of these things failing in certain places. So it's not like all this is crazy or unknown, but there's certain spots that are just good to get sold down to. And I don't want to go between both of these too much or focus on that because they do have different stuff. I value the NASDAQ more than the Skilling one, the NDQ more than the Skilling exchange one. This is a 24/5. This is only open during market hours. Now, let's just kind of get back to Bitcoin and we'll wrap this up we'll just wrap this up. I don't want to say quickly because I'm never quick. We're 14 minutes in. So this is our range. We were overbought. Well, they're selling it down. This was our range, right? This was beautiful. This is when we exited. We don't trust it here. We want to see it come all the way down. We didn't come down. They buy it up. Most likely, I'm not positive, but most likely, really believe this is really bullish price action. There's not much you can do. I'm not surprised this pushed up here, but it's really ugly. Really, really ugly. And I didn't think this was going to come back down. I'm going to be honest. I wouldn't have said this was going to come back down. but I don't care, right? I don't care about that because what I care about is, are we coming back? The same thing with the Dow and all these other ones. I don't care really what we're doing up here, right? When you're getting in a long-term position for a long time frame, if I got in here, like I buy in and out. I don't hold a lot. But whatchamacallit, my position, like I was doing more and all that, I've stopped because the price action was horrible. But like when you get in here with big money, who the hell cares? Come back. It's already been multiple weeks. Just try to buy it back up, right? So that's kind of the way I look at it. It doesn't matter if we're overbought. I don't mess with something. That's just the strategy, and that's just what I stick to. And now we're right back in, right? So what do we specifically want to see? We want to see this get sold all the way down here, and we want to see this sit and end the day at 40. This is 43.1, 40. This is 41. 41.1. I'm sorry, 41,100. We want to see it around 41,200 to 41,200, like 20 to 41,000, maybe like 400, anywhere in like this range, pretty much right here. We just want a nice. So essentially, look at this. Let's inverse this. This is essentially what we want to see, right? We just want to see it open without a lot of space, because when we look at it from this perspective, if this is our range, this is our assumption, like you never know, but if this is our assumption that this is our range, this is why I get out at places like this, because this is the only thing that makes sense, right? And deviations, I don't trade deviations. So this only, to me, only makes sense that we're going to then fill the range. And most likely the first way we go is going to be down, because what other position would someone rationally want to take here? Another interesting thing I saw, that's pretty much this. So I want to see this sit all the way down here. Long story short, I guess, like I said before, I expect us to drop down and then get caught. If we fall under, we fall under. One other thing I'd say, we'll look at Bonk real quick, and I'll look at BLX. One interesting thing I saw with Bonk is we actually saw the same exact thing on Bonk. Not the same with the overbought situation coming back, but we actually saw the same thing here on Bonk. So if anyone's messing with Bonk, it's the same exact thing. I would like to see this keep pushing down and end the day here. And I think this is a pretty easy up. How bullish it gets, I don't know. I really don't care. I just try to play the base of ranges, and, double hole 500, 375, and 200 smooth seem to be some of the best some of the best indicators to use to figure out what area is important. And then I just do the rest of the work. So I just thought this was interesting on Bonk. And if I can remember, I guess the DXY and the VIX, I didn't show that. So we'll show the VIX first, because I know what I want to say. The VIX is really weird for a lot of what it is. We started 1 cent above here, which I wasn't surprised, that there was bearishness also when we started here. Don't know why it kept pushing down. But anyway, we got something going on with the VIX that's really like working its way up. Oh, another thing I wanted to show, this is what I was talking about. Oh, I think I got rid of it. I got rid of it for April, but long story short, the point of the VIX is you could more or less like see something. I don't remember where it was. It doesn't matter specifically. But you could more or less see there was something about this where all these would wick under, but you can see specifically almost no matter where you move this, is that you could move it like even if we like moved it down, right? You see the same thing where it hasn't started a week under, a single week under this, and then we got our first week start under, and then we got our first month start under. So it made sense that we started to push down here. For the dollar index, the biggest concern where this negativity could keep coming is holding and starting around 102.4 is going to be just about where it is. What are you talking, 272 to 9? That's a little under like 48. So we could say 102.4 or 102.4. That's the easy thing to do it. So we'll see if the dollar can hold for the rest of the week. This isn't the worst, because this just brings us into here, but possibly if we start here, that's the worst. And then we'll finish this off by looking at the Bitcoin. I'm not going to make another video for a little bit unless something happens, because this is about as straightforward kind of as it gets. So week time frame. Let's look over here, and we can just look at this. We have 18 seconds or like 30 seconds left. Anyway, so it should be right here, right? So we come in, boom. You see we get a little bit of a sell down because we first start back in this range. So we get a little bit of a sell down. But when we start up here, we just drop. So that would be the concern, is still starting a week above here. I don't think this is the worst in the world, because we have a lot of stuff here that could turn us around. But long story short, that's pretty much it. Nothing really too crazy. I think we come back down and then end up pushing up. We'll see what happens. It kind of is what it is. And take care, y'all. Peace.